All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. We have proof of life, although it doesn't look like it's going to be living for long. The Trumpster came out of his shell today, came out of hiding, talked, I guess, in what could be described riddles and rambling lies and innuendo. However, he does say he's going into Chicago. And on that note, J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson punching back hard, saying it will absolutely be met with the full force of the courts and all the legal arguments that they can present to keep the troops out of the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. Brock Ganeles joins me now live from the beautiful confines of the Hudson River Valley, our senior political analyst and our uptown point guard. Brock, what say you? Are the courts going to be strong enough to hold? And why is the National Guard coming from Texas to Illinois? Makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, I guess I read that Trump was certainly pretty resolute. I watched the press conference that they're going into Chicago. But yeah, typical rambling Trump, he had no idea in timing or anything like that because, he has no fucking idea of what's really going on. But he knows they're going into that there's going to be a deployment in Chicago. I kind of read that ICE was coming first and then the Guard behind them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it sort of makes sense it would be a National Guard from out of state because Pritzker, maybe has convinced or would not authorize the National Guard in Illinois, and then Trump would have to nationalize that guard like he did in California, but that was viewed as illegal by the courts, which maybe strengthens the police response that they, are fighting against an illegal deployment. And maybe
Sure.
just gets a more justified reaction from the authorities in Chicago. That was a long-winded way of saying this is really shaping up to be an interesting showdown.
Right. Right. And here's the thing, too. We already have that ordinance which says you must operate in a lawful fashion within the confines and city limits of Chicago. So no masks when you're trying to disappear people off the streets of Chicago. And in J.B. Pritzker's press conference today, he said that authoritarians thrive in your silence as the people, right? So he implored the people of Illinois, the people of Chicago, to be loud, proud, and have your camera phones ready. And he said to get your video and share it with the media. And then he said the one theme that we've been consistent with since we started this clam bake, my friend, he refuses to normalize this behavior by an American president, which the media has been complicit in, acting like this is reporting on it like it's normal.
Yeah, like it's just, he's breaking a norm or, Trump's got his
Yeah,
own way of doing things,
right. Yeah.
Look, one thing after the other is being deemed illegal. There's no enforcement agency against illegal acts, but they're being deemed illegal. Hopefully it illegitimizes them. And just maybe because DC, after LA and then DC, and DC has protested pretty consistently, maybe the people are starting to change the sentiment, and then the media in America doesn't lead, right? It follows the eyeballs and will play a story to wherever they think is going to get them more attention and advertising dollars. So maybe they'll start playing the story as an illegal occupation of Chicago. So
Right.
maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll get a change in that behavior. But hey, if the people show up, the people will win.
Yes. And here's the other thing, too. J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson giving you the playbook for batting down this nonsense from Trump, right? Like, I didn't see Trump's presser today, but I understand he looked rather feeble, but he's still pressing on with his stupidity. But Pritzker and Johnson together, unified with the attorney general, all the top law enforcement officials were at their press conference this afternoon at 3:00. I think it was 3:00 Midwest time, Central time. So people are in lockstep there. They unequivocally all said the same thing. National Guard troops are not needed and not welcome here. right? Violent crime is not what it used to be in the 90s, in the early 90s, when we had the crime bill and what, 800 murders per, 100,000 people. It's half that now. And crime continues to fall. The only spike we saw back during COVID and the Trumpsters administration, right? Because they didn't know what they were doing. But, you know, crime continues to fall. And that is why Trump continues to make up these lies, which he is such a prolific liar, and continues to spew that nonsense.
Yeah, and well, there, he called it the murder capital of the world, right? They hyped up ginned up some numbers about shootings over the weekend. So, and of course, all the Fox networks are playing along, as was ABC, right?
Right.
Trying to, create once again the frenzy and the classic racist angle of crime, aka black and brown people that need to
You
be
know it.
cracked down on. So let's send in our fucking Proud Boys 3%ers in our masks to crack down on the crime. I mean, the Trump playbook on these sieges is kind of already tired, right? Chicago's going to be the third city, but it's kind of a tired story. I don't think it's resonating that well with America that there's this rampant crime in these cities, right?
It
There's
is.
been enough pushback now. The leadership in each of these cities has pushed back. So, America's not really on the side of these deployments. It's not going to stop them yet. But hey, maybe Chicago's the line in the sand. Maybe Chicago's the place where it ends, where the people in lockstep with their local government say, no, we are not taking this from the Trump administration, not in our backyard.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. And I think what could bring more attention to it is the fact that you could have law enforcement versus law enforcement. And that is going to be the ultimate showdown, right? Because, Chicago is saying law enforcement there is not collaborating with ICE, is not going along with the federal, mandates and plans. So you're going to see, two different sides of a coin here. And, Brandon Johnson said, our city does not have an immigrant problem. We have a gun problem. And our gun problem comes from the red states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Indiana. They can track where all these guns are coming from. New York City, gun violence, many of those guns coming from Georgia, right? And every time they shut one down, another one pops up, another trafficker pops up, another straw purchase pops up, right? This is big business, right? As the NRA has told us.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
the issue.
I
Not
mean,
not
what?
too many immigrants, too many guns.
Yeah, it's why you have to have a national gun policy because it's absurd just to have state policies because somebody could just drive
Ridiculous.
5 minutes over the border, buy one without any registration, and drive back. Like it's just like, you know, it's an absurd not to have a national policy. Right, it appears to be coming to a head this week. That's one big story that's brewing. So the fact that Trump came out of his 8-day whatever it was hibernation looking like shit with bruises on his head, his hand, his fucking
Hey,
nose. He looked like the guy fell down the stairs, right? Which wouldn't be that shocking because of the way he's bobbing and weaving. Can't even walk down like a red carpet to meet with Putin, right? Um, it wouldn't be surprising if he fell down and hit his head, and that's why we didn't see him for 8 days. But he came out babbling, and he came out resolute on going in, bringing troops into Chicago. So he won't, I don't think he'll back down from it. I think he's kind of like the die is cast. He's kind of, wheels are in motion. It's going forward. This confrontation is going to happen. This confrontation is going to happen just like the Epstein file confrontation is going to happen tomorrow. And
that's going
I'm
to be
here
big.
for it. And I'm here for it. And it's like finally it's actually gonna Mike Johnson tried to put the issue on the back burner and sweep it under the rug and hope that everyone would forget during the 3-week hiatus he gave Congress. But here we are, September 3rd, and we got a press conference with multiple victims
Right.
and a couple Republican congressmen going hard in their demand to see the files.
Files, yeah. And, I don't think we cannot see them at this point, brah. How can we not? What is the justification? Epstein's gone, Maxwell's locked up. There's no other reason not to see them except for the cover up and except for the other names in the file who don't wish to be prosecuted, right? And the sweetheart deal that how come Alex Acosta hasn't been called to Capitol Hill yet? How did he go through a hearing to become labor secretary or whatever he was in the first go round and not be pelted with these issues? I mean, it's unbelievable, bro. Like I
Well,
don't I don't
The
understand it.
Democrats did not push this issue in Trump
Right.
1.0, right?
Right.
They just let it pass. Um, they were complicit in allowing in the cover, basically. But now the story found new life, right? QAnon gave it new life, and now the left is all over it because they see it as a political opportunity. I don't, give them credit as doing it out of some like moral stance, but we'll take it any way we can get it. And it's going to be the dominant story tomorrow. And
Mhm.
Trump will stay up all night trying to figure out how to divert America's attention from this press conference and from this news flow that's going to come out of it with all these women telling their stories, many for the first time, and certainly for the first time with the national attention on it. So, Trump's a survivor and a liar. So I'm just interested to see what shenanigans he pulls as a diversion. But I don't, he's gonna tomorrow's gonna be a tough day for anyone who's Epstein adjacent.
Right. So he's already tried to come up with this one diversion down here in the Caribbean where he's got military ships down there attacking a vessel that was alleged to be carrying drugs targeting Tren de Aragua gang, allegedly killing 11. We'll never know if that boat had any kind of dope on it or what kind of drugs, but he says 11 were killed. This is coming from Trump. The terrorists were at sea in international waters, and, no U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. This is not news to most Americans, you say.
So U.S. warship was cruising around, like a warship is cruising around the Caribbean, and we sent missiles and shot up a boat that we are alleging had a whole bunch of drugs on it headed for the
Mhm.
U.S. So
Right.
we're in high five mode that we just somehow they're terrorists, right? I don't know where terrorism comes into play. They're trying to sell drugs. I don't know. At most. But speaking of like damaging the tourism, who the hell wants to go down in the Caribbean right now and be like, go on a fishing boat or do a little water skiing or get a jet ski? It seems like you're pretty much open season to get some friendly fire coming your way down in the Caribbean now. Because
Yeah,
kind of hard to trust on our intelligence on anything with Tulsi Gabbard in charge of it. So to me, this is just like we got to kill somebody because we need a story out there. Instead of bombing the Houthis, so we didn't bomb Yemen this time. This time we bombed a ship in the Caribbean.
right.
Wow. Well,
And
that's not gonna divert attention.
no, no. And we did it to brown people again, right? These are supposedly Venezuelan drug dealing terrorists. It's not going to fly. I don't know what Trump thinks he's doing, but the rest of the world is laughing at us. And now he's impacting the tourism industry of the Caribbean,
Of course, you
right?
got warships cruising around. Who the fuck wants to go to a place now you're in a war zone? But like
Right.
either they're drug dealers or they're terrorists. Okay? Like it's not drug dealing terrorists. Like let's figure out what lane they're in. Like are they coming here to try to make some money selling drugs? Or are they like trying to subvert the US government because, for some like fanatical religious purposes? Like, come on,
Right.
it's one or the other. Stop with the bundling the two together as if
Right.
that's what, we've watched enough narcos and the like, right? They're not
Hello.
fucking terrorists. They're trying to make some money.
And
They
it's
may
all the
terrorize society, but it's not for political reasons. It's a
no,
business.
not at all. And oh, by the way, there's a much easier way to get into the US, and that's through those tunnels on the US Mexico border. Why would you buy a ship? We could have saved some money, because the wall works. We all know that. There's my feeble attempt at humor. But I mean, the bottom line, he's constantly, all this shit is just trying to see what sticks because he's trying to deflect from the Epstein files. And now that these Republicans are seemingly getting a backbone, because Brock, we've seen it in these town halls. These constituents want to know, why aren't you pushing for the Epstein files? Why aren't you opening it up so the public can know exactly who was involved in this pedophilia, especially the QAnon crazies?
Yeah, and there's no way around it. There's no good argument because, Trump tried the argument like, oh, we don't want innocent people swept up in it, and it's not fair to the good people who may be mentioned in there. Like, okay, so that was an argument to have a massively redacted, file, but it looks like they've even backed away from that. And, Bondi's stance is just not to release it. But
Right.
it's going to take a lot of pressure, and that pressure starts with visibility. And the pressure, it's going to take the people.
Yep.
The people made enough noise at town halls that it's gotten us to this point, and now we'll see if the people push it further and further, and we'll see what kind of, Trump doesn't like to backpedal, right? He always likes to be, punching forward, and I don't know how you punch forward against teenage girls who were repeatedly raped on an island after being coerced and tricked into it by like a mastermind of Ghislaine Maxwell. So it's just a hard one to counterpunch on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't wait to see Gavin Newsom's Twitter feed tomorrow. This ought to be lively because remember, this is a page right out of Trump's playbook, right? Remember when he bought the Bill Clinton accusers out for the press conference to talk about how horrible Bill was, right? To try to take down Hillary. And, and he's not going to say turnabout is fair play. He's going to sit back and bitch and moan about why are they doing this to me?
You're the media guy. Does every major media outlet cover the press conference live?
How can you not? How
Okay.
can you not? Even
Okay.
even on Earth 2 over at Fox News, they're not going to be able to ignore a story this big, this monumental. And Brock, remember too that, they're ignoring the whole gun issue around the violence and crime in these cities. They're not talking about the guns. They're just talking about the perpetrators, right? They're not saying people are shooting each other with rubber bands. No, 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 no. People are shooting each other with guns that they got from red states. Why aren't we talking about the gun issue? But how do they? There is no way. There is no way that you can avoid this story, especially after Ghislaine Maxwell got upgraded to a, basically club-fed facility.
Okay, so 10:30 tomorrow, you think across the board, up and down the dial, like you even think those morning shows are going to cut away, like the ABC, NBC's, ABCs, or just CNN and
They're gonna
MSNBC?
have to.
And you
They're
think
gonna have to.
Fox is gonna cover it live? I may actually I don't have a Fox channel anymore. I'll figure out a way. I'm gonna
Watch
test
it
the
online.
premise. I'm gonna try to find a way to figure out whether Fox is covering it live.
Yeah,
Because
go to foxnews.com. They'll show it to you there.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, look, you can't call yourself a news organization when you ignore the most prolific, the most prolific pedophile sex trafficking ring in the history of our country that also heavily involves the president of the United States.
Remember, Fox says they're not a news organization. When it came to the courts, they said they're an
Yeah,
entertainment
people
station.
know.
Even from an entertainment point of view. Okay. Well, we got that coming down the pike too. So those are kind of the two biggest stories I think that are flying around out there. The other things that are interesting that we hadn't touched on yet is one, well, we did the other day said finally Joni Ernst, passing by. But today, in what I consider a very positive step, Jerry Nadler from New York, congressman from New York, I think he's like Upper Manhattan, says he's not running for re-election. So he was on
Awesome.
the Van Five committee, what's like 80 years old or so. So either
Right.
he says his quote was, "It's time for a younger generation to step into the fold." I
Yes,
just
it
wonder if
is.
that was like, was he feeling so much pressure on that front, or did he just kind of have a moment where he thought about it during his 3-week break and came back and said, you know what? I wonder if his constituents, was it constituent driven or does he truly believe that?
Right.
you know? But either way, I don't, once again, as with so many things, I don't care how we
Who
got here.
cares?
It's a positive. We're going to hopefully get an infusion of youth in what is a pretty safe Democratic seat. So let's get a firebrand. Let's go.
Yep. Yep. Young, fresh, progressive, common sense legislation for America.
A lot of pressure on that DC, the rep from DC, black woman, but she's really old. She's been there for a while. I don't know what her name was, but
Hmm.
someone in the black community came out telling her to step aside. Just like we need someone. I think that this whole siege on DC kind of
Right.
brought to light that, like, hey, we need a fighter, someone who's in fighting shape, right?
Right.
Just somebody young and, just ready to be on TV 24/7 or out on the streets.
Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Yeah, she's been there a while, right? Yeah.
Yes.
She's another one in that camp that has to gracefully
Yep.
step aside. She's been
Yeah.
holding on for dear life like so many of them.
She's been there since Mayor Barry got arrested. That's
Okay.
the early 90s.
I was in 90s. I was going to say late 80s. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's such an argument for term limits, but just another thing to put on the list, the platform of changes that need to happen when, quote, when we get America back to some semblance of a
Of
democracy.
normalcy.
Let's get we got to have some term limits in here again. We just realize even in Democratic Party right now is just across the board too old. The average
Right.
age is just too high. And
Right.
so, okay, so a Nadler leaving's a good step.
Yeah.
Hopefully
It's a great step.
it leads to others.
Right.
Hopefully it's a wake-up call to others to not Dianne Feinstein and like fall asleep and just, die and get told 8 days later, kind of like what they're doing with Trump.
Right. Yeah, because he's not long for this world. We can all see it. And the fact that they're trying to hide it on us is so annoying and so frustrating. But again, I mean, what did we expect? So where do we go from here, Brock? I mean, what do the people need to do and say in the meantime? Because look, if Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago can fight back, why can't everybody
We got to
else?
have big numbers. We have to have big numbers in Chicago. And I'm telling you, this is white guy central right here. Okay. I'm telling you that this fucking COVID thing is going to fucking inflame white America. Okay.
All right.
Not MAGA white America. Okay.
Right.
Anyone who's like sane white America.
Right.
Face it, white America that rode out COVID much better than anyone else because we could work from home and like it impacted us the least of anyone.
Right.
That white America, pretty wealthy from upper middle class and up, is fucking gonna be or I'm already seeing it in my little community.
Right.
People are pissed about not having access to these next wave of COVID shots.
Right.
I mean, people are pissed because this will hit their health and with their home. Because almost all, you were lucky, almost all of us got it at least once.
Yeah.
No one wants to fucking get it again. And
Right.
that fact that this lunatic, RFK Jr., is
Yeah.
telling us we can't have something that we know worked for us and
Right.
that now he's going to imperil our health. Like we may have to ride out COVID again and take all the risks of the downsides of it because this fucking moron has come up with some crazy decision. New York State looks to me, I was searching around today when I could get the net looks to be one of those states that
Really?
unless you're 60 and over with like a boatload of pre-existing
Preconditions?
conditions, you're not you just can't sign up on CVS, show up and get the shot like you have for the last like 5 years, 4 years, whatever it's been. It's going to enrage white America. This is one of those things I told you, Mark. White America gets pissed really quick. We don't like being told stuff that we can't have shit. You don't tell us to pipe down. We have freedom of speech. Don't ever tell us we can't protest. We go to the Constitution, right? We know our rights and freedoms. You can't take shit away from us. and we've
Right.
already had these COVID shots, and now you're trying to take shit away from white people? Not here for it. Outrageous.
Especially,
And look at me,
but bro,
complete white guy. I'm so fucking pissed about this. That this
I
fucking
understand.
moron is telling me that I can't have health care, the health care I need.
That's the part. They're not telling you you can't have a new Cadillac Seville. What they're telling you is you can't have access to your own good health. Now, if white America doesn't rise up and buck the system, I don't know what to tell y'all folks, man. I don't know what to tell you. Because, look, what I always say, when white America catches a cold, black America catches pneumonia. We don't want black Americans have so much less access to quality health care than white America, right? And if you guys are not furious about that and leading that charge so that we can come in behind you, bro, I don't know what's wrong with this country. We deserve to die if we're not going to fight for our own health and our own family's health. Brock, we had people in refrigerated tractor trailers because they were dying too fast in New York City. New York City, one of the most storied cities on the planet, bro. Like, I mean, if that doesn't do it, what will? If that doesn't do it, what will, bro?
We lived in fear of each other, breathing on each other, breathing near each other for like
Yep.
a good year. The
Oh
vaccine
yeah.
got us out of fucking isolation and literally brought us back to a society that could interact. We were all in fear. We were wiping down like food and packages and like every fucking thing possible. Cause who knew how you could get it for a while, right? Then
Right.
masking. Yeah, I just think this is gonna, this is a taking shit away from white America, and it's the conspiracy theory nature of it. It's sort of like
Yeah.
those guys are making this decision. That fucking idiot, RFK Jr. Look, like I'm like a good gauge of complacent white America. I didn't do it yet. I literally almost called the governor's office, Kathy Hochul, and I was gonna be one of those guys like with the gerrymandering. Hey, I don't care what the FDA said. I want New York State to put in their own fucking law that gives us access. Like, let's override whatever the federal government is telling us, right? I'm one of like these now red state fucking crazies. I'm like Montana with gun laws, right? Don't tell me I can't get my health care. So,
Exactly.
yes, I want it. So, what do the people have to do? Like, yes, I want to see the people of Chicago out on the streets because their neighborhood's being invaded. And
Right.
yes, I want to see white America fucking fighting like motherfuckers because this, COVID access is it's also kind of representative of other things, right? It's
Right.
like you called it the other day, it's the idiocracy making decisions for us that we know aren't in our best interest. And
Right.
at what point do we just say we can't be led by an idiocracy?
Right.
How many things have to happen? Education, weather, right? We're not going to track hurricanes anymore. No more FEMA,
Mhm.
right? Let's just go down the list of all the things that we've talked about.
Well, did you see the fecal contamination warnings for people headed to the beach for Labor Day weekend?
Now,
I mean, what the fuck? That right there is
what's
the death of expertise.
I'm afraid to ask, what's fecal contamination? I mean, I kind of
Yeah,
have a sense of what it probably is, but what is it?
it's
Like,
fecal matter.
just,
Fecal matter that should be contained to a toilet bowl.
it's floating around the oceans now?
Yeah, yeah, bro. Yeah, because remember, Brock, that's what NOAA and all these atmospheric scientists do. They monitor water conditions and temperatures. And when people get in the ocean, they lose control of sometimes their bowels and
I mean,
they have
it's
to drain themselves in the ocean. Look, this happens every now and then. Now that there's many fewer people watching out for our
yeah,
health,
paying attention. Yeah, we don't get
paying
to anything early.
attention
We
to it.
we never catch anything before it's too late because
Right,
there's no one doing the jobs anymore.
right. It's too
Because
late.
we had to deconstruct the state, right? Because it was all waste and doji. Yeah, declining quality of life in America. So like, yeah,
Yes.
back to your question, what do people have to do? Like we have to be louder, we have to fight back on every front, we have to be more visible, we have to make more noise, and ultimately we're gonna have to show numbers that show we're the majority and that overwhelm this, crazy white supremacy, oligarchy, Christian theology, technocracy, selfish fucking 1% America, 1%
Right.
plus the race, 1% plus the ultra racists, and and out punch them.
Right.
We have to show we're stronger, ultimately.
Right.
Stronger. Not just smarter. They don't
Think
care who's smarter. You have to show we're stronger.
Yep. And thinking of strength, military lawyers, approximately 600 of them, are going to serve as temporary immigration judges. That's a Pete Hegseth initiative. Sounds really ridiculous. Sounds like they're just there to rubber stamp the Trump administration policy and send them to wherever we can get a flight to.
I was just going to ask a question that
Sounds
I know
ridiculous.
doesn't matter. I was going to ask you the question, is that allowed or is that legal? But
Right.
I'm not sure if it matters. Just like with the tariffs, some court may say it's illegal, but then there's no enforcement mechanism. So it just rolls
Right.
on anyway, right?
One last quick hit number.
Yeah.
1.2 million immigrants are gone from the U.S. labor force under Trump. 1.2. Who's building houses? Who's changing roofs? Who is doing some of the infrastructure work? Who's painting and repairing bridges? We know the United States infrastructure is under a ridiculous amount of pressure. And if the work ain't getting done, all the work that Joe Biden had started, which had people working, is now gone
Yeah. Well,
because
money's
got
out
it.
there. The money,
Yep,
the money's out
money's out
there.
there, but it's going to Trump's bank account. It's going to the PP tapes. It's going to Vladimir. Who knows what Trump's got to split with Vladimir to keep the PP tapes from being broadcast? It's not above Vladimir. He's already showing, naked model pictures of Melania over there, making fun of Trump whenever he feels like it. Then he comes over here and Trump will roll out the red carpet for him and have U.S. soldiers on their knees at his beck and call, riding him around in the beast. Fucking ridiculous. Quick hit for us. Get us out of here before I
Oh, yeah. So
blow.
the New York Times finally came around and put out a story about how many of the federal layoffs were Black women. And finally, right? This was like
Finally.
yesterday, it might have been today, right? Finally mentioning that they seem to have been actually targeted. And that Doji actually made it, easier for them to be first in line to get let go because of their quote performance. Because the New York Times, it took them till like September 1st to get around to fucking waking up to the fact that, oh,
9 months.
maybe there's some racism behind this whole thing. What do you
You think?
fucking know? Just got to it.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Good time. I'll call that's today's slow hit, right? It's
Right.
like, oh my God.
Yeah. Unbelievable, my friend. All right, buddy. Good stuff. Always a pleasure. Let's do it
All
again
right.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow's gonna be an interesting day. We're gonna have a lot to talk about tomorrow night.
Can't
I'll be
wait.
on Fox.com at 10:30 in the morning just to see if
See
they're
you then.
actually showing the Epstein press conference,
No
victims
doubt.
press conference. All right, good stuff, Mark.
All right, buddy.
Take
See you
care.
then. Peace.